In the 1980s, a young group of actors starred in a myriad of films together about what it's like to grow up in that current socio-political climate where civil liberties were being challenged and societal norms were being turned on their heads. These actors became known as the Brat Pack, a moniker coined by David Blum, a writer for New York Magazine. Influencing an entire generation of teens and young adults, many went on to have amazing careers. And here's your chance to see where it all started. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Every new sub helps us achieve our goal and keeps us motivated to create new content. With that being said, I'm your host, Amber Assault, and here are 10 must-see films featuring the Brat Pack. Number 1. 16 Candles. Turning 16 is a big deal, especially for young girls. In traditional households, it's usually the age where you're finally allowed to date, you can get your driver's license, which to a young rebellious heart means total freedom, and somehow you feel more adult as well, even though in reality you've barely entered adulthood. All of this is on beautiful and heartbreaking display in this John Hughes classic film about a girl, Sam, who just wants to be seen and feels like she will always just be this insignificant girl, stuck in a mediocre life. First, her family forgets her birthday. Then she's relegated to the living room sofa since her room will be taken over by visiting grandparents and the spare bedroom is occupied by a foreign exchange student, Long Duk Dong, with whom she is now being forced to attend the school dance with. It only seems to get worse from here on out when her close friend Ted makes a bet with some of the other boys at the school that he can sleep with her by the end of night and must snag her panties as proof. Eventually, the secret comes out and she has a full-on breakdown cry fest, in which Ted comes clean and tells her she should go be with her crush, Jake, who also likes her back. I wouldn't have forgiven him so easily, but whatever. There's still a few missteps along the way, but it does eventually culminate in a happy ending. Well, as happy as a tragic, clumsy 16-year-old can hope for. Reminisce about your own 16th birthday by diving into this classic dramedy by watching it over on AMC+, Prime, Netflix, Sling TV, or Fandango. Number 2. The Breakfast Club. Another Hughes classic slice of life films that take a look at high school adolescence. Well, in the 1980s at least. But this time from the perspective of a group of kids stuck in detention together. The 5 main kids are composed of Brian Johnson, a socially awkward nerd, Andrew Clark, your typical Midwestern jock, Allison Reynolds, the shy, loner, borderline goth girl, Claire Standish, the popular girl, and John Bender, the rebellious burnout from a broken home. By the end of the film, something it does beautifully in some aspects and mishandles in others is chip at the outside layers of these character stereotypes to reveal there's more to each of these people, and that we, the audience, much like their fellow classmates, have judged them solely based on what we see. While they challenge authority and authority challenges them back, they form a powerful bond, revealing their innermost insecurities and traumatic secrets, while also learning that they are still young and life is full of choices, full of chances to be happy. It's rude, it's crude, and kicks off with a lot of attitude. But like a desert flower, it unfolds into something beautiful. Head over to Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango to check it out. Number 3. St. Elmo's Fire. A Brat Pack classic about the one question we all ask ourselves when adulthood comes colliding with our sense of self is, what do I do with my life now? As a kid, you have dreams, become an astronaut, a firefighter, a supermodel, a movie star, the President of the United States, and so on and so forth. By the time you reach high school, many of your goals have changed. In some cases, the things that interested you might have now fallen by the wayside because they're not cool, or you fear you're not good enough, or for any multitude of reasons. And so you start to look at other possibilities of careers that you could work towards to ensure the lifestyle you want. For others, they just refuse to grow up and wander aimlessly forward, doing a little bit of this or that, just hoping for the best. Then you graduate and go to college, and it's time to choose a path. Put your brain to work, study hard, make something of yourself, or burn out and give up, surrendering to a life of retail work or dependency. Don't get me wrong, not everyone has the opportunity to go to college or get out of their situations, And that can make answering these heavy life questions a bit more tough than just choosing a major. Well, all these themes are explored in depth as we follow a group of friends who recently graduated from Georgetown University and now have to face the consequences of all the choices they've made up to this point. Some choose to completely uproot themselves and go against everything they've been preparing for, while others are happy and pursue their dreams with relentless focus. The perfect film to watch with your own group of friends. Or in the case of being a parent, with kids who are getting ready to go off to college. So make sure to head over to Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango to give it a whirl. Number 4, The Outsiders. In my 8th grade English class, my teacher had us read the book The Outsiders by S.E. Hinton. Now, personally, I love to read and found it fascinating, so of course I read the book from cover to cover. But as many students have done over the years, to complete their book reports, they just watch the film. That's how I found out about this surprisingly beautiful and nearly faithful adaptation brought to the big screen by the one and only Francis Ford Coppola. Basically, in this story, there is a huge divide in class between the rich upper crust of society, known as the Soches, and the poor undesirables commonly referred to as greasers. The bulk of the story is told through the eyes of Ponyboy, the youngest member of the Curtis family, whose mother and father are gone, so they are being raised by the eldest brother, Derry. Well, much like Romeo and Juliet, when Ponyboy begins to fall for young and popular Cherry Valance, a class war breaks out between the two groups, which ends up leaving a boy dead, and young Ponyboy along with his best friend Johnny on the run from the law. It's heartbreaking, eye-opening, and will sear itself into your memories as an unstoppable force of gorgeous cinematography, if you've somehow managed to miss this classic. Head over Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango to rectify that. Number 5, Pretty in Pink. I know, the term friend zone is often used in an ugly context, but originally it was just a word that meant when one person developed feelings for their friend that went beyond their friendship, and they didn't feel the same way. The same kind of way you would use the word sucks to describe an unpleasant situation, or calling something the bomb when it was particularly exciting. Unfortunately, our societal culture has a way of turning everything to its most negative-based description. And so now the friend zone is more commonly attributed to sexual desire, which is disappointing. Why do I bring this up? Well, this film is pretty much the original definition of that term. You've got Andy, the punky, apathetic, but also self-assured girl who seems to be at the center of the affection of two young boys. Ducky, her geeky best friend, and Blaine, one of the preppy guys at her high school. Now, she has absolutely no interest in Ducky, and he can't handle the rejection. His heart is breaking into a million pieces over it. And when you're a young high school kid in your teens, it's basically the equivalent of your world ending. However, Blaine is slowly rubbing off on her, and they end up deciding to go together to prom. I won't spoil how the rest of the film turns out, but suffice it to say there's plenty of laughs and tears, so best to watch this one with a box of tissues handy and your favorite comfort snack. Watch it now over on Paramount+, AMC+, Sling TV, Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango.
Looking for some new duds to dazzle your friends and family with? Support Fat Ninja Studios by heading over to fatninja.shop and checking out our very own merch store. We've got everything from shirts, hoodies, hats, shoes, and more. Again, check out fatninja.shop. Every dollar spent goes to our big fund jar and helps us produce more quality content and short films. Thanks again.
Number 6, About Last Night. Probably the steamiest film on this list, this story follows the lives of a group of friends and coworkers who get together to discuss their relationships and sexual escapades, and to make things more complicated, begin to mix with each other, kind of like the cast of 90210. There's Debbie, a woman working her way up the corporate ladder and also having an affair with her boss, who then meets Dan at a company softball game and ends up having sex with him. Her friend Pat is immediately attracted to him as well, yet her friend Joan pretty much hates his guts. Dan's friend Bernie also doesn't like Debbie, and to both his and Joan's dismay, Dan and Debbie begin dating on a regular basis. Neither having ever been in a serious relationship before, things get complicated after they approach the L-word stage of the situation, and things hastily fall apart. At a New Year's get-together, Pat tries to seduce Dan, which erupts into a huge falling out between the friends, followed by a pregnancy scare, Dan's work problems, and Debbie's former boss unable to accept that the affair has ended. Eventually, the pair call it quits and begin to move on with their lives, but that spark of love still lingers in both of their hearts. Will they reunite or find happiness elsewhere? Find out for yourself over on Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango. There's also a remake that came out in 2014, but it's not as memorable, which you can also find on Tubi, Sling TV, Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 7. Weird Science. Before Child's Play gave us the evil living doll possessed by the serial killer Charles Lee Ray, and Toy Story gave us a group of lovable toys come to life that taught us about adventure and childhood, we had Weird Science, where two nerdy high schoolers using the powers of science and technology gave life to a Barbie doll to turn her into the ultimate girlfriend. While there's a lot of things in this film that haven't aged well, it's a perfect time capsule of the mind of a young teenage boy in the midst of the 80s. I don't know too many people who haven't seen this film or at least know the basics about it. It's kind of a staple of the decade, like other big films such as Back to the Future and Say Anything. But just in case, here's a quick summary. Gary and Wallace are tired of being the joke of the school, bullied by the jocks, laughed at by the girls, and so one night, inspired by Frankenstein of all things, they decided to conduct an experiment and create the woman of their dreams. And they pull it off. At first, she's nothing more than a sex puppet for these two goons to show off like a trophy and used to explore their hormone-fueled fantasies. But surprisingly enough, through the course of the film, she manages to teach them what it means to be a man, to grow up, to be comfortable with themselves, and to find real love. It also stars an absolutely hilarious Bill Paxton as Chet, the most annoying alpha male bro, toxic male version of himself that relentlessly tortures his younger brother Wyatt and gets his comeuppance at the end. Get your popcorn ready and have a good laugh by checking this flick out over on Paramount Plus, Hulu, Sling TV, Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 8. Johnny Be Good. Probably one of the more lesser-known films on this list, I stumbled upon this one browsing the aisles of a Blockbuster, way back when this country still had a bit of normalcy and wasn't the dumpster fire it currently has descended into. It stars Michael C. Hall, who usually was cast as the goofy nerd in most of the Brat Pack films, except this time, he plays football hero Johnny Walker, along with the likes of Robert Downey Jr. as his best friend Leo Wiggins and Uma Thurman as his girlfriend Georgia. This film initially flopped in theaters, grossing a mere $18 million and has a pretty meager Rotten Tomatoes score presently, but don't let that deter you. It's actually an entertaining, if simplistic, piece of high school comedic revelry. If you've seen Friday Night Lights or any rags to riches kind of American football film, then you'll be familiar with the story here, about a kid who's worried about his future, whether he wants to become a pro football player or choose a different life, etc., and blah, blah, blah. What makes this film fun to watch, though, are the actors involved, as charming and funny as ever. By this point, most of them have appeared in multiple films together and become real-life friends, so their chemistry is undeniable. It may not be as exciting or dramatic as the other films on this list, but it feels like getting together with some good old friends and having those remember when conversations that leave you feeling nostalgic and also in a fit of laughter. Head over to Tubi, Pluto TV, Prime, Apple TV, and Fandango to check it out. Number 9. Class. Unlike the other films on this list that mainly take place in public high schools, this one follows a group of teens in a private prep school academy. If you don't know what the difference is, it's pretty much uniforms and more expensive equipment and books, but the education, well, that's a much longer debate involving the entirety of the American education system. And you don't want to be here all day. So back to the film at hand, the story revolves around Jonathan, a recent transfer to the school, who immediately gets mocked for wearing his uniform, before meeting his new roommate, Squire Franklin Burroughs, affectionately known as Skip by everyone else. Suddenly, Skip drops his robe to reveal he's wearing a bra and panties and explains to the shocked Jonathan that it's a campus tradition for seniors to parade around in girls' underwear. Plenty of shenanigans and drama follow Jonathan throughout the film as he navigates the new hierarchy as well as tries to figure out what he wants out of life, with emotional highs and lowbrow comedy lows. Honestly, if it weren't for the cast, this movie would have long been forgotten. But Brat Pack members such as Rob Lowe, John Cusack, and Andrew McCarthy elevate this drama by giving us some solid performances and some memorable scenes. You can attend this class by heading over to MGM+, Sling TV, Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 10, Fresh Horses. This film is probably Molly Ringwald's most seedy role as emo-punky seductress Jewel, who seduces young rising elite Matt Larkin, played by Andrew McCarthy, from his wealthy and clean lifestyle to the underbelly of Cincinnati. Not only was Matt the golden poster boy for his rich community, but he's also scheduled to get married. But after meeting Jewel, he begins to question all the things in his life. They cross paths by total accident after heading to a party that had pretty much gone bust, and while going to grab a beer from what's left over, he sees her standing there in her revealing outfit and is immediately captivated. She tells him that she came here to hide from her abusive stepfather, and so Matt invites her to spend time at his countryside getaway for as long as she needs. The definition of the "I can fix her" meme, this film unfolds into quite the salacious, steamy romantic drama, and the ending will leave you in a fit of sobs. It deals with a lot of dark subject matter as well, which became a huge movement during films that came out during the 1980s, as censors relaxed a bit on subject matter to allow more realistic and topical films to be made. Definitely make sure to check this one out over on Tubi or Sling TV and keep a box of tissues handy. Thanks for checking out the video. Did we leave any films off the list? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to smash that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter/X @StudiosFAT, or chat with us on Discord, linked below. If you're really enjoying our content and want to help support us, click that join button for exclusive content, rewards, and perks. Make sure to check out our very own merch store located at fatninja.shop. All proceeds go toward our next film project, so we'd greatly appreciate it. I've been your host, Amber Assault. Thanks again, and take care, my lovelies.